Yo, what's up, people? DLZ,
Alman
Alman1.
One.
You haven't seen us in a long time.
It's been a while.
All right, we're here with the State of Wrestling address. I don't know what we're going to start with first. WWE, their product slowly but surely getting better. I mean, yeah, the writing has not always been the best, but
No, but they're picking up some real heavy hitters as far as talent goes.
yeah, look at the guys they got. They got Eric Young now in NXT.
Shinsuke Nakamura, you got
Bobby Roode.
Bobby Roode. I mean, they got Samoa Joe a few months back.
Yeah.
Actually, last year, but
They've
Finn
got
Balor.
Finn Balor. They've got Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows and
Luke Gallows, who of course was there before. Many will remember him as Festus, even though we try to forget that gimmick.
Yeah. But man, the writing may have not always been good, and the writing is still kind of meh, but wrestling-wise, this is the best the product has probably really ever been on Monday Night Raw. I can't really remember the last time Raw had great wrestling action on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been quite a while.
I'll be honest, with Payback coming tonight, actually, I kind of hope they do put the title on AJ. I mean, AJ's he's just a good person to put the title on because he's just really good, and people like him. And look, WWE, here's what you need to do. You're not going to like this, and if Vince could pull his head out of his ass for 5 seconds, he would have realized this.
Yeah.
People already kind of hate Roman Reigns for no real reason other than just because.
They did it with John Cena. They're going to do it with him because why? He's the new guy. It always happens.
It's true. But here's the thing. People already hate him, so just turn him heel. It's obvious it's never going to happen with Cena.
Here's the thing.
And it's not that we don't like Cena. He's a decent wrestler, but his gimmick is just so vanilla and boring.
Yeah, once you've seen it, you've seen it. And it's like, here's the difference between Roman and Cena. They can afford to turn Roman heel. He's kind of the new guy, new on the block.
He already wears black, so that's easy.
His value is just like, it's there, but it's not to the level of John Cena. You could make Roman a bad guy. And you could make the Usos a bad guy, too, because the Usos, as talented as they are, they're stale. That's right.
It's true. And you actually could turn them heel. And one thing, and this actually just occurred to me, I hadn't thought of it before, but being as their cousin The Rock has already been a heel, you could actually use that to build them. You could have The Rock build them as heels, and it would work way better than trying to shove them down everybody's throat as a face that nobody likes anyway.
Yeah, and this is the reality era. Supposedly, heels and faces don't exist anymore. You got to keep kayfabe alive to a certain degree.
They kind of do. I mean, The Miz is a heel.
Yeah.
And screw The Miz. Woo, woo, woo. Needs to be the Intercontinental Champion for a while, even though he doesn't like that.
I hate Zack Ryder with a passion.
Why? What did Zack Ryder ever do to you?
I just hate him. I can't explain it. I fucking hate him. It's just one of those things. All right, yeah, but with
kind of in the same way that I hate John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, with Payback tonight, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn should be the match of the night. Going to be fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't checked out, what's the name of the thing that you always
ProWrestlingLoot.com.
Yep, El Generico Mask.
Ole, 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 ole. Yes.
And they're in Chicago tonight, which is why we're going to be watching Payback, because Chicago is one of the best wrestling crowds you can ever wrestle in front of.
And if you're wondering why I brought the mask with me tonight, it's just because we do a thing every year with the Royal Rumble where we pick 3 entries, and whoever those entries are, we have to root for them no matter what for the entire year.
Yeah.
I got Sami Zayn this year, along with 2 other guys.
I got AJ, so I'm hoping tonight's the night. All right, but with WWE, yeah, it's getting better.
And Brock. Don't forget Brock.
And Brock. And Luke Harper, but he's hurt, so I'll have to pick somebody else because he's out for 6 months.
No.
Speaking of hurt, Bray Wyatt's hurt too. He's out for like another 8 weeks.
Yep.
But okay, with WWE, they're stepping their game up. The wrestling quality's gotten a lot better. We've heard rumors that it could be a brand split, which if they do it, you got to do it the right way. Keep guys on their brands. Don't have these guys shuffle from show to show unless you decide to do the thing where you have one world champion. That would be okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Beyond that,
I mean, if you're gonna do the brand split and keep them on separate shows, then 2 titles is fine. Mostly because that way, then each show kind of can build their own thing. Which, and as far as that goes, the brand split was fine in that. But then you started having guys going back and forth, and the separate brands didn't really matter. And then it was just like, whatever.
I also think people I know are going to kill me for saying it, but Raw and SmackDown should go back to having their own pay-per-views. If you're going to do a brand split, give them back their own identities.
That's true. If you're going to do that, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, but overall, WWE, keep it up. We liking what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Now let's take a moment to laugh at TNA. Their first mistake was hiring Jeff Hardy. Now, back in the 90s, in the mid to late 90s, really more like the late 90s, Jeff Hardy and his brother Matt, they were big business. I mean, they were one of the best tag teams in the WWE, one of the top tag teams in wrestling, pretty much period at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of fell apart. They split the Hardys up. Then Jeff started having drug problems. Matt was kind of irrelevant. Sorry, Matt. I still like Matt Hardy, but he did become kind of irrelevant, and I don't think that was any fault of his own.
He's always been the better Hardy. I always believe that. I mean, yeah, Jeff has got more daredevil showmanship type, but Matt's always been the better technical wrestler.
Yeah, that's true.
But I want to give a shout out to Nathaniel Carter on Facebook. He made a status talking about TNA that they're not going to make it into 2017 because they're broke. They have no money. And they've gone from Spike TV, which that was the best network they could ever get, to Destination America, which not everybody could get because when you look at cable packaging,
it's just the way they do it.
It's ridiculous. And now they've gone to Pop TV, which they can barely get like 300,000 viewers. That is bad. If you can't even get up to 300,000 people, WWE gets at least 1.5 million views per week on Monday nights.
And that's just Monday night.
Yeah. Let me get your take on this. I mean, with Dixie Carter, let's talk about her. I mean,
well, I tell you what. You go back even just as far as 10 years ago, 2005, 2006, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually still watching TNA at that point, and they had some kind of cool stuff going on. They had some creative ideas. It was different. And then they decided to bring in Hulk Hogan. Why? Not just Hulk Hogan, but Hogan and Bischoff.
And Flair.
And, yeah, Flair. But Flair's been everywhere, and he's about 1 million years old and just can't quit. And
yeah.
Well, Flair is a legend in the wrestling business. He got no. But anyway, it made no sense because you brought in Hogan and Bischoff, and the product started to drop down because they lost some of that originality. They lost some of what made them interesting.
The six-sided ring, I know people are going to...
Six-sided ring went away. It went to a standard four-sided ring, which is most companies on the planet use that.
I know people are going to bitch about, like, the six-sided ring, it's not important. Yes, it is. In TNA's defense, yes, it is. The six-sided ring is what made them awesome. Mm-hmm. It was innovative. It was cool. The X Division was the biggest thing they had back in 2002 to, like, I think, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. And then you had Taz bury the X Division by going, oh, yeah, they need to have weight limits. It's not about weight limits. It's about no limits.
That's Taz.
Yeah. And then you had the god-awful commentary. I know we're jumping around, but...
Yeah, the commentary hasn't been great, and I don't blame Mike Tenay. He's done okay, but his commentary partners, Taz is fine. I don't mind Taz.
Yeah, even though he's gone now.
It's what the hell's his name?
Don West.
Don West wasn't great.
Yeah.
The guy who does the background and he's the ring announcer in the backstage, and what the hell's his name?
Jeremy Borash.
Yeah, Jeremy Borash, who can't seem to say people's names correctly. It's Rude, not Roo, not the kangaroo. No, it's Rude.
Yeah. Okay, I know we're jumping around from place to place, but we're just going over TNA's biggest mistakes.
These are the things that have hurt TNA, and
the overexposure of Hulk Hogan is probably mine on my list. I think here's the thing with Hulk Hogan, I didn't have a problem with them signing Hogan as long as they were going to use him on a limited basis. He should have been that guy that comes in 2-3 times a year to promote a big pay-per-view. And then get the fuck out.
Well, or, it wouldn't have been so bad if you had him in that sort of, like, Commissioner Regal type role where he's there, he sets matches, but other than that, he doesn't really do a whole lot. And you don't really see him a whole lot because, this is what, 2008 when they brought Hogan in, or 2009. It was 2009. And, this is at a point where Hogan's had his run. It's not the 80s, it's not the early 90s. Hogan should have been done. The guy's over 60 now.
Yeah.
And he can't wrestle anyway because he fucked his back up.
Mm-hmm.
There was no point in bringing him in. I don't see that he's any kind of a draw anymore.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan, I know wrestling fans, he and I included, did not want to see him anymore. I know they were going after the mainstream people. Here's the biggest mistake they made: going head to head Monday nights with WWE. You cannot do that because they're the WWE. They're going to make money because of their name. They're not going to make money based on wrestlers anymore. Their name alone will carry them.
Right.
That's
and,
how it is.
You know, there's probably a lot of people that are going, well, why? You know, why couldn't they do it? They were nearly as big as WWE's other major competitor, WCW, but why didn't it work for them where it did for WCW?
No.
The biggest reason is because WCW had billionaire Ted behind them.
Yep.
They had the funding to make their show big. They could pay people the big money, where TNA really just doesn't have that kind of money to do that.
No.
Plus, you know, the talent that WCW was bringing in, guys like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. They had Goldberg when Goldberg was young, and they had, you know, they still had Sting, who was huge.
Yep, cruiserweights out the ass. Like, cruiserweights is what made WCW awesome. Like,
and I don't think even with cruiserweights that a company could do that again today, because
we're never going to get a Monday Night War again. You said it yourself years ago. We're never ever going to have another Monday Night War, and people need to accept
because there
that.
won't be anybody that can compete on that level with WWE because they don't have that kind of money.
Yeah. Them trying to take it to WWE was the biggest mistake they ever made. Them going Monday nights should not have happened, ever.
Yeah,
period.
the second biggest mistake that they made was rehiring Jeff Hardy 3 or 4 times.
Despite having drug problems, and Kurt Angle, he's guilty of this too. Kurt Angle, he had problems.
Yeah, you come back to the Victory Road incident just a couple of years ago, where Jeff Hardy came in and he was obviously fucked up on drugs or alcohol or maybe both, and it was so obvious, and even Sting was pissed.
Yeah.
And you see at the end, you know, you watch that clip from that because it was only about a minute and a half match. Yeah. And Sting standing up on the stage on his way out, just shaking his head, and you hear somebody go, "That's bullshit," and Sting's like, "Yeah, I agree."
Mm-hmm. And you didn't even find a replacement. And it's just like, look at today's times. Look at the networks you're on. You lost Spike TV. You can't even pay your talent on time. And people want to save TNA, but Dixie Carter doesn't want to get out of the way. You have to get out of the way. You don't know what you're doing. It's evident.
It's true. You know, I actually watched, it was put up on YouTube. I watched one of their shows from, it was in the last few months. I don't remember exactly when. It was one of their more recent shows. Mm-hmm. And they were running a storyline with Ethan Carter, EC3, and Matt Hardy, which was actually an interesting storyline. But the problem that they're facing at this point is not that they don't have the talent to do interesting storylines. The problem is they don't have the money to keep it going.
Yeah, horrible management.
You don't have enough viewers. The product's not interesting enough to keep the viewers. And at this point, TNA is all but that far done. And I mean, a lot of us have seen the pictures of some of the arenas from what were supposed to be TNA's big events, where there
were barely a couple years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
Like that was
sad.
Yeah.
That was, oh boy.
They can't even sell at their arenas. Their pay-per-view business is dead because you could just watch it on stream, and even if you wanted to, why would you? I mean, TNA, people say TNA could have been that next WCW, ECW. Nobody was ever going to take it to WWE.
Yeah, you could make the argument that WWE doesn't really have any kind of pay-per-view revenue anymore, but technically that is true because most people just, you know, will probably just watch through the WWE Network, but you do still pay for the WWE Network every month. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I mean, besides that, you know, with their sales of merchandise, DVDs, shit like that, WWE doesn't necessarily need the pay-per-view market. Not really.
No, they don't. And with TNA, we're probably going to have to make a two-parter because we're almost out of time on the first video. But I'm sure, have more to say. So we will see you guys in a minute.
Thanks.